Okay, we're gonna start talking about types of statements. Before we start analyzing statements, we need to understand how the truth value of these things works. Okay, so the first statement is basically the negation. It has this symbol. How does the negation works? The negation works like this. It changes the sign. Okay, basically that's the rule for the negation. Negation changes the sign. Now what about the other ones? Okay, like for example conjunction. What is the rule for conjunction? The rule for conjunction is that if both are true, then you get a true statement. Okay, otherwise the rest is false. Okay. Disjunction, that will be the or. Okay, if you see there's a difference between this symbol which represents the expression and this symbol that represents the expression or, the disjunction works a little bit different. In the disjunction, we're not focused on that both things need to be true. No, we're focused on that at least one of them has to be true. So if one of them is true, then it's still gonna be true. So another way to say this would be that the only way that something could be false is if both things are false. Any other case will be true, because if one of them, like for example the first one is true, then it's gonna be true because at least one is true. If the second one is true, it's also gonna be true because at least one of them is true. And if both are true, then obviously it's gonna be true because not only one but both of them are true. So the rest will be true. Okay. Now what about the conditional? Okay, in the conditional we need to understand like the expressions in this case. Like there's an if and there's a then. The first one before the arrow and the second one, the one after the arrow. Okay, like when the first one is true and the second one is false, like for example the case TF, then that's kind of like a promise that was broken. I promised you that if something happened, then something else was going to happen. Like if this happens, then I promise I'm going to give you this, or something like that. And the first thing happens, so you get really happy because, oh, it happened, so I'm going to get, let's say, a present or something. But in the end, I decide not to give you a present. So basically, I broke a promise. So the only way to get a false conditional is by breaking a promise. And you break a promise when the thing you said fulfills, but you do not fulfill your promise, even though the condition was true. So the case TF is basically false. That's what makes the statement false. But whatever any other case you might find, there's not gonna be any problems in here, because the promise is only broken if the condition fulfills but you do not fulfill your promise. So the rest will be true. Okay, we need to understand this first ideas, okay, so that we can work with statements. Okay, so try kind of like understanding which are basically the rules for working with each one of these things. Okay, that is basically how we're gonna work with statements.